Okay, the Mughal Empire. This is the second part of your chapter. First part I just given you. Alright, now we're gonna start the second part. A closer look Akbar's policy. The broader the broad feature of administrations were laid down by the Akbar and it is elaborated and discussed by Abul Fazl in his book Akbarnama, in particular third volume, that is Aine Akbari. Abul Fazl explained that the empire was divided into a provinces called subs governed by subedars and who carried out both political and military functions. Each province also had a financial officer or diwan. For the maintenance of peace and order in his provinces, the subedar was supported by the other officers. So, Akbar had given the broad administration process and which is explained in the book Aine Akbari by Abul Fazl. Abul Fazl explained that Akbar regime was divided into a provinces and each provinces were known as subs and these subs or provinces were controlled and governed by Subedar under the vigilance of Akbar. The Subedar carried both political and military functions properly, military functions especially to maintain an army for the war. Secondly, they also have financial officer who collect revenue or other taxes, so they appointed diwan for the maintenance of peace and order in his provinces. The subedar was supported by the other officers. These other officers who appointed in the provisions such as military paymaster Bakshis, the minister in charge of religious and charitable patronage Sadr, military commander Faujdar, and the town police commander Kotwal. So these positions or these officers were still in today India. We also know about what is Bakshis. We know about Faujdar. We know about Kotwal. So these terms were still used in India. So this is the note of Sub or the provincial minister or governed by the subedar. So subs is the provinces and it is governed by subedars, and in provinces you have financial officer, that is diwan. The other officers were also appointed here to look after the peace and order. You also have your faujdar, you have your sadr, bakshis, and kotwal. So this is a small note. So this is one box again where talk about Noor Jahan's influence in Jahangir's court. So Merunisa married a emperor Jahangir in 1611 and received the title Noor Jahan. So basically Noor Jahan is not a name, it's a title which is given by Jahangir to Merunisa. She remained extremely loyal and supportive to the monarch. So, in honor of this, Jahangir stuck silver coin bearing his own title one side and in other side stuck the name of Queen Begum Noor Jahan. तो उन्होंने उनकी लॉयल्टी और ऑनर में उन्होंने अपने सिल्वर कॉइन के एक तरफ अपना और दूसरी तरफ नूर जहां को सील में स्टक करवाया. यहाँ पे एक एडजॉइनिंग फिगर है, ये एक फरमान है जो नूर जहाँ के सील पे लिखा गया था. दैट कमांड ऑफ हर मोस्ट सबलाइम एंड द एलिवेटेड मैजेस्टी नूर जहाँ पद शाह बेगम. द राउंड सील स्टेट्स बाय द सन ऑफ शाह जहांगीर सी बिकम एन ब्रिलियंट एज द मून. मे नूर जहाँ पद शाह बी द लेडी ऑफ द ages। तो ये एक लाइन इस सील के ऊपर लिखवाई गई थी और ये नूरजहाँ का फरमान था। Akbar's normal commanded larger armies and had access to large amount of revenue. While they were loyal to the empire, functioned efficiently, but by the end of the 17th century, many nobles had built independent network of their own. Their loyalties to the empire were weakened by their own self-interest. So, by the end of the 17th century, the picture of the empire was changing. The nobles' loyalty were no longer centered to the Akbar's empire. It is becoming the self-interest, which somewhat disbalance the empire control. Now coming to this, while Akbar was at Fatehpur Sikri during 1570s, he started discussions on a religion with the ulemas, Brahman, Jewish priests who were Roman Catholics and Zoroastrians. These discussions took place in the Ibadat Khana. जब अकबर फ़तेहपुर सीकरी में थे 1570s में, तब उन्होंने रिलीजियस डिस्कशंस के ऊपर उलेमा से बात की और सिर्फ अपने ही रिलीजन के लीडर से नहीं, बाकी सभी रिलीजन जैसे ब्राह्मण, जूइस, कैथलिक एंड और ज़ोरेस्ट्रियन, इन सभी से इन्होंने डिस्कशन किया एक प्लेस पे जिसका नाम उन्होंने दिया इबादत खान में। ही वॉज इंटरेस्टेड इन द religion and social customs of different people. Akbar's interaction with people of a different faith made him realize that religious scholars who emphasized rituals and dogma were often bigots. Their teachings created divisions and disharmony amongst his subject. So अकबर ने ये चीज़ देखी कि जिस चीज़ में हम लोग बिलीव करते हैं अपने रिलीजन में, अक्सर जो स्कॉलर्स बात करते हैं या तो उस चीज़ को हम नज़रअंदाज कर देते हैं या उस चीज़ को हम किसी बिलीफ को हम रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करते हैं। तो यहाँ पे ये दो वर्ड दिए गए हैं, दैट इज टर्म डोगमा, अ स्टेटमेंट और एन इंटरप्रिटेशन डिक्लेयर्ड एज अथॉरिटेटिव विथ the expectation that it would be followed without question. So कुछ ऐसे स्टेटमेंट जो रिलीजियस लीडर्स देते थे जिसको बिना क्वेश्चन किए हमें फॉलो करना पड़ता था और बाद में वो बायगॉड भी हुए। एन इंडिविजुअल हु इज़ इंटॉलरेंट ऑफ अनदर पर्सनस रिलीजियस बिलीफ और कल्चर। सो दिस इज़ हैपनिंग एट दैट टाइम कि कुछ बिलीव्स या ऐसे सेंटेंसेस या ऐसे रिचुअल्स जो कहा जाता था करने के लिए या रिस्पेक्ट करने के लिए, वो अक्सर बाय गॉड किए जाते थे। दिस इवेंचुअली led अकबर टू द आइडिया ऑफ सुल-ए-कुल और अ यूनिवर्सल पीस। और इसी प्रॉब्लम्स जो है टीचिंग के या ये डिसहार्मनी है, तो अकबर को ये आइडिया मिलता है कि वो एक सुल-ए-कुल और अ यूनिवर्सल पीस, जिसका मतलब होता है दिस आइडिया ऑफ टॉलरेंस डिड नॉट डिस्क्रिमिनेट पीपल ऑफ डिफरेंट रिलीजन इन हिज realm. Instead, it focused on the system of ethics, honesty, justice, peace that was universally acceptable. So, Soul-e-Kull is not discriminate people on the basis of their caste or their society value, other than it believes or focus in the system of ethics, that is your honesty, justice and peace. Abul Fazl helped Akbar in framing a vision of governance around this idea of Soul-e-Kull. This principle of governance was followed by Jahangir and Shahjahan as well. So you can see the picture given here where the learned man was sitting with Akbar and they having a different point of view towards their religion, and discussions were here in Ibadat Khana. Here this yellow box is about Sulekul, the view of son Akbar Jahangir. He described what the things is going on in Ibadat Khana. So there was a room for the professors of opposite religion and for a belief of good and bad of their religion. Their intolerance were close inside the room. Only the Sunnis and Shias met in one mosque, Christian and the Jew in one church to pray. He constantly followed the principle of universal faith, that is your sul e kul. Now, coming to the conclusion of this chapter, that is the Mughal Empire in the 17th century and the after. So, what is going on in the late 17th century and how the Mughal Empire is declining and the causes of the declination. The Mughals Empire in the 17th century and after. The administrative military efficiency of the Mughal Empire led to a great economic and commercial prosperity. International travelers described it as a fable land of wealth. So, economically, we are flourishing at that time, but these some visitors were also afraid to the state of poverty that existed in this great empire. The inequality were glaring. Documents from the 20th year of Shah Jahan's regime inform us that the highest ranking Mansabdar were only 445 in number. So the revenue which is collected is also becoming less, and it is near about summited to 61.5%, which empire salaries for themselves and their troopers. The Mughal emperor and their Mansabdar spends a great deal of their income or a salary and a goods. This expenditure benefited the artisans and the peasantry. So, as the salaries were collected, the same way the primary producer of the peasants and artisans also facing the poorest among themselves and lived from hand to mouth, they could hardly consider investing in the additional resources like tools and supplies because all the produced were given as a tax, so there is no income left for investing in their tools for increasing production. Now, coming to the enormous wealth and the resource commanded by the Mughals elite made them as extremely powerful group of people in the late 17th century. As the authority of Mughal emperor slowly declined, his servant emerged as a new dynasty in the center, and they start controlling from Hyderabad and Awadh, although they were continue to recognize the Mughals emperor in Delhi as their master. By the 18th century, the provinces of the empire had consolidated their independent political identities, and you have further discussions on this in chapter 10. So here your chapter finished, the Mughal dynasty. And for question answer, I will provide you the PDF file, and you have to learn some terms which are used in this chapter like mansab, zagi, zat, sawar, sulekul, primogeniture, corpuscendaries, zabt and zamindar. So these terms are very important. And table 1, please read table 1, which gives you the main important rulers descriptions. Thank you class. Have a good day.